Going back to the funding structure for a second, this is not organic. It's not grassroots.
Right.
Underneath the umbrella of some of these organizations, and you can even broaden this to be like the Roy Singham network of nonprofits, if you will, these political activism organizations that essentially give money indirectly to Antifa by either coordinating with them, providing resources, training, transportation. I mean, I would argue that the whole idea or this narrative that Antifa is decentralized is just their like alibi, just their disguise, just how they camouflage the actual organizational structure. Because I don't think that you have people who actually even know how to do something as simple as wearing glasses and then goggles and then complete black bloc, unless they have been trained or indoctrinated in some way. Yep. So then you just say like, okay, well, where did they find that document? Who created it? That organization, who were they associated with? And is there any funding trail? Like I said, I think a lot of this funding, just like we saw the anti-ICE riots out, a year ago in Los Angeles, that came from Roy Singham groups, the Party of Socialism and Liberation, the People's Forum, like those types of groups. I think that there's a case there that the federal government is actually crazy not to pursue, since Roy Singham, an American citizen, is doing the work of the Chinese Communist Party to use his money to fund violence, to sow civil unrest.
And the sad part is some of our money is also going to fund this. We have entities in the Seattle area who will show up at everything. Any sort of unrest, they're there in some form or fashion. And they also have contracts with the state of Washington to do, like Gender Justice League. They'll have contracts with the state of Washington for various stupid things. But at the end of the day, it's all going into the same pool of money. And I do think that one of the avenues, the lanes here for the federal government is tracking down who's funding all of this, because it's not natural. I mean, the day that Savannah Hernandez was attacked in Minneapolis, all across the country, dozens and dozens of protests, you had these anti-ICE people who all of a sudden had like boxes full of sex toys. Part of the thing is they all had dildos and they were waving.
I didn't even see that.
Yeah, poking Savannah with them. And that was the same in Portland. It was the same in Seattle. It was the same in Minneapolis. Just an example of, weird, but the organizational capacity. I know that they're working with some individuals to try to get figure out who's funding this. Yeah. When there's one of these violent actions, who's funding it and can we go after them? Frankly, even the ACLU of Washington at this point, I really believe is involved in some of this stuff.
Really? How so?
You see themes and people pop up. Like the Washington Education Association. Whenever there is some sort of low-level arrest, usually it's for like pedestrian interference where they're blocking a road or something like that and they won't move and police are just trying to clear the road. They'll arrest them for pedestrian interference. They'll never get prosecuted. The case will be thrown out, but we know who these people are. And there's people with ties to certain groups that are always popping up, whatever it is. Ties to the ACLU of Washington, ties to the Washington Education Association, the teachers union. And so I really think that just given the frequency with which we see those groups represented as part of people who are out there causing unrest, you think there has to be some sort of either they're telling people go there. In Seattle, I was shocked during a No Kings protest. And it was peaceful. There wasn't any acts of violence at it, but the protesters were all, making their way into the downtown core and then dispersing after it was done. And I was walking down, further down by the sports stadiums. And there was this beautiful brick. If you're not familiar with the Pioneer Square area of Seattle, it's the old Seattle. It's beautiful brick and all this stuff. And there's this building on First Avenue. So prime real estate, beautiful brick, old building, bunch of big glass windows. And Indivisible was in it, like the group that was leading the protest that day.
Yeah, they'd be the ones behind No Kings.
I'm like, who is paying for that? Because I can only imagine what it cost, right, to have rent or lease this beautiful office space, prime real estate in Seattle. Although Seattle real estate's taken a dump lately, so it's a little cheaper than it used to be.
But still, Indivisible, I believe, gets a healthy chunk of their funding from George Soros's Open Societies Foundation. I mean, it all traces back to that. Listen, here's what I will say. It would take Elon Musk and his team of Doge nerds, Doge geniuses, whatever you want to call them, about 5 minutes to piece together the funding pattern that leads from wherever it leads. Maybe it's these billionaires and their umbrella of groups all the way down to Antifa, and this whole thing could be blown wide open. And listen, this is not just something where it's like, okay, we want to go to this effort to solve your case and Savannah's case. And Nick Sorter was also assaulted. There is an assassination culture, a culture of violence that's not just relegated to the extreme fringes of the left wing. This has become mainstream thought among Democrats, among leftists. There was a poll out a couple of months ago. So actually, you know what? It was from April of 2025, but it kind of didn't come to light until a couple of months ago, that said that 56% of left-wing respondents had somewhat of a justification in their mind for assassinating President Trump. That means that you go out and you talk to any run-of-the-mill leftist, and you are more likely than not to have them say it's okay to murder Trump.
It is insane. And it's so important that we change, that me, you, everybody who does what we do, make sure that because I'm guilty of calling it like radical left-wing extremism. It's not radical left-wing anymore. It's not. It's mainstream.